Hey there, my name is Rob Van Wagoner. I am coming to you from my reading and writing sofa located in Concrete, Washington. I'm the author of a recently released novel entitled The Contortionists from Signature Books. The Contortionists is the story of a family in the immediate aftermath of the disappearance of one of its own, a 5-year-old Ogden, Utah boy who goes missing as he walks a short distance to a neighbor friend's birthday party. The Contortionists is what one would call a literary crossover, by which I mean it contains elements found in both the genre novel, in this case the psychological thriller and mystery, and in the literary novel. The elements from a literary novel I concentrate on are language. I have attempted at least to use a lyrical, evocative, at times muscular language that nonetheless I hope disappears into the overall experience of reading The Contortionists. I've also concentrated on character development, something that is not always at the held in of great value in the psychological thriller. In my novel's case, I concentrate on developing complex, fully fleshed characters who have full backstories and present themselves in sympathetic and often, as humans are prone to do, contradictory manner. The structure of the novel is somewhat complex. It follows in third-person limited omniscient, the handful of characters as opposed to simply one character. It is told from the point of view of the missing boy's mother and father, from the missing boy's aunt, the mother's sister, and her husband, and from a police detective, Detective Milo Craig. I'd like to take a few minutes now and read to you from The Contortionists, share with you just the opening section. It's only a couple of pages. If you have any interest after hearing this, I will be reading from later chapters in The Contortionists in subsequent videos. Here we go. In the garden. 1:12 p.m. The neighbor, Natalie McMillan, would tell essentially the same story as Melissa Christopher, the missing boy's mother. They would both say the child had been gone 20 minutes before anyone noticed. 20 silent minutes, bookended by 2 telephone calls, the first from the mother to tell the neighbor 5-year-old Joshua was on his way to the birthday party, the second from the neighbor to ask the mother if she had sent him yet. 2 hours later, scarcely a person in Utah hadn't heard the terrible news. But in the upper Ogden Valley, near a town named Eden, Carly did not yet know her nephew had gone missing. Bare-bottomed, she bent to examine her peas and lettuces. They were up, tiny things yet, but up. It was a gift for Hans, this lingering. She could feel his eyes on her. Smiling, Hans reached to the nightstand for his water. He enjoyed this view through the open French doors, his wife's dark hair still riled from lovemaking. Playful Carly, she was childlike in gardens and skin. He returned the water to the nightstand and rolled from the bed, stretched, then gathered his jeans from the floor. Zipping and buttoning, he wandered through the open doors. At the edge of the deck, he wriggled his bare toes and contemplated the 20-odd yards of wet grass between himself and his wife. The hard May rain had softened, and the interloping mist braced his naked torso. He'd nearly decided to return for a shirt when Carly stood up. Cocking an ear, she fingered back her hair. Yes, she'd heard correctly, the downshift whine of a vehicle slowing on the highway below. She listened to the car turn up their long drive, the cascade of wheels spinning fast in gravel. Smiling over her shoulder, she primly tugged down the hem of her t-shirt. It barely covered her bottom. She might almost make it to the house if she ran. Instead, she turned back toward the highway, her gaze aimed at the gap in the shrub oak in Ponderosa. When Caleb's Jeep crested moving much too fast, she and Hans exchanged a quick glance. "You're here," the boy shouted. "We've been calling for over an hour." Long-legged, he hurried through flower beds, over crowning boulders too massive to excavate. Carly stretched the shirt to her bare thighs and watched her 18-year-old brother lumber into the garden, his approach heedless of all, including the young plants he crushed beneath his feet. Carly received him with upstretched arms, hands reaching to still his face. "Slow down," she said. "I don't understand what you're saying." Hans started down the stairs. He could hear the boy's voice, but couldn't make out the words. Carly said something, and again Hans failed to understand. Crossing the yard quickly, he tried to read lips. Carly stared at Caleb's face, gave her head an incredulous shake, then touched her throat and took a half step back. Turning, Caleb, still talking, doing better now, making sense, she met Hans's gaze. She was a good athlete, Carly, sure-footed. She crossed the wet lawn at a sprint without slipping, her feet black to the ankles with mud. "Thanks for stopping by,"